Hello back. Master your emotions before they control you. Part 1. Your emotions are running your life. Most people believe emotions just happen to them. They think emotions are automatic, uncontrollable, and unavoidable. That belief is what keeps them trapped. Your emotions influence your decisions, your reactions, and your behavior every single day. When you don't understand them, they control you. When you don't manage them, they manage your life. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It is about understanding them and choosing how you respond. Emotions are signals, not orders. Emotions are information. They are signals trying to tell you something about your thoughts, your expectations, and your beliefs. They are not commands you must obey. Just because you feel angry does not mean you must react with anger. Just because you feel anxious does not mean you must stop moving forward. The moment you treat emotions as instructions instead of signals, you give them power over your actions. Your thoughts create your feelings. What you feel is directly connected to what you think. The same situation can create different emotions in different people. That means the situation is not the real cause. Your interpretation is. When your thoughts are negative, your emotions follow. When your thoughts are distorted, your emotions become intense. Emotional control begins with mental awareness. If you don't question your thoughts, you will always be a prisoner of them. Most suffering is self-created. Pain is part of life. Suffering is optional. Most emotional suffering comes from resistance, overthinking, and unrealistic expectations. You replay the past. You imagine worst-case futures. You demand that reality should be different. This mental resistance creates emotional pain that lasts far longer than the original event. When you stop fighting reality and start accepting it, emotional intensity decreases. You are not your emotions. One of the most important realizations is this: you are not your emotions. You experience them, but they do not define you. Feelings come and go. They rise and fall. If you identify with every emotion, your identity becomes unstable. Emotional strength comes from observing emotions without becoming them. You can feel sadness without becoming weak. You can feel anger without becoming aggressive. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates control. Negative emotions grow when ignored. Ignoring emotions does not make them disappear. Suppressed emotions accumulate. They show up later as stress, anxiety, irritation, or burnout. Emotional mastery requires facing emotions honestly, not avoiding them. When you acknowledge what you feel without judgment, emotions lose their intensity. What you resist persists. What you accept transforms. Control the response, not the feeling. You cannot control every emotion that arises, but you can always control your response. This is where real power exists. The space between emotion and action is where discipline lives. When you pause before reacting, you regain control. That pause allows you to choose a response that aligns with your values instead of your impulses. Emotional intelligence is built in that pause. Calm is a skill. Calmness is not a personality trait. It is a skill that can be trained. People who appear calm are not emotionless. They are practiced. They have learned how to slow down their reactions, regulate their breathing, and detach from unnecessary mental drama. Calm thinking leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Emotional control improves every area of life. Emotional mastery changes everything. When you manage your emotions, your confidence grows, your relationships improve, your focus increases, you stop reacting and start responding.
You become stable under pressure. Emotional mastery does not make life easy, but it makes you strong enough to handle life without being overwhelmed by it. Part 2. Understand negative emotions and break their control. Negative emotions are not the enemy. Most people believe negative emotions are bad and must be eliminated. That belief creates more problems than the emotions themselves. Anger, fear, sadness, anxiety, and frustration are not enemies. They exist for a reason. They're signals pointing to something inside you that needs attention. When you label emotions as bad, you try to escape them. When you escape them, they grow stronger. Emotional mastery begins when you stop fighting emotions and start understanding them. Emotions come from unmet expectations. Most negative emotions are created by expectations. You expect people to behave a certain way. You expect life to be fair. You expect results to come faster. When reality does not match your expectations, frustration appears. Anger is the result of violated expectations. Anxiety comes from expecting danger or failure. Disappointment comes from expecting different outcomes. The problem is not reality. The problem is rigid expectations. Triggers reveal inner weak points. When something triggers you emotionally, it is showing you an internal sensitivity. Other people are not the cause. They are the trigger. If someone's words create a strong reaction in you, it means something inside you is unresolved. Emotional triggers are mirrors. They reveal insecurity, fear, ego, or past wounds. Instead of blaming the trigger, use it as feedback. Awareness turns triggers into tools for growth. Your mind amplifies emotions. A situation happens once. Your mind repeats it hundreds of times. That repetition is what amplifies emotion. Overthinking keeps emotions alive long after the moment has passed. When you replay conversations, imagine future problems, or relive past mistakes, you are feeding emotional intensity. Learning to stop mental repetition is one of the fastest ways to reduce emotional suffering. Fear is a story about the future. Fear is rarely about what is happening now. It is about what might happen. Your mind creates scenarios that do not exist yet and reacts as if they are real. Most fears never happen, but the emotional stress is real. Fear loses power when you return your attention to the present moment. You handle what is real now instead of fighting imagined futures. Anger comes from powerlessness. Anger often appears when you feel unheard, disrespected, or out of control. It's a reaction to feeling powerless. But uncontrolled anger creates more damage than the original problem. When you understand the root of anger, you can respond with clarity instead of aggression. Calm responses restore power. Reactive anger gives it away. Sadness needs acceptance, not resistance. Sadness becomes heavier when you try to escape it. When you judge yourself for feeling sad, you add resistance. Sadness is a natural emotional response to loss, change, or disappointment. Allowing it without labeling it as weakness helps it pass naturally. Emotional strength includes the ability to feel without collapsing. Stop identifying with emotional states. Saying, "I'm anxious" or "I'm angry" turns a temporary emotion into an identity. A better approach is, "I am experiencing anxiety" or "I am feeling anger." This small shift creates distance. Distance reduces intensity. You are not broken. You are not flawed. You are experiencing a human emotion that will pass. Emotions fade when you stop feeding them. Emotions need attention to survive. The more you analyze, judge, and obsess over them, the longer they stay. When you acknowledge an emotion and return to purposeful action, it weakens. Action grounds the mind. Stillness with awareness calms emotions. Obsession strengthens them. You can train emotional control. Emotional control is not talent, it's training. The more you practice pausing, observing, and choosing responses, the stronger your emotional discipline becomes. You will still feel emotions, but they will no longer control your behavior. That is emotional maturity. Choosing your response is real power. Life will always present challenges. You cannot control external events. You can control how you respond to them. That choice determines your emotional state, your decisions, and your outcomes. When you choose calm, clarity follows. When you choose awareness, growth begins. Emotional freedom is a daily practice. You don't master emotions once and keep it forever. It's a daily practice. Awareness, acceptance, response, repetition. Each day you practice emotional control, your inner stability grows. Over time, reactions weaken and clarity strengthens. If this part helped you understand your emotions more clearly, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. In Part 3, we will focus on emotional habits, mental discipline, and how to rewire your emotional patterns for long-term control.
Part 3. Reprogram your emotional habits and build mental discipline. Emotions become habits. Most emotional reactions are not random. They are learned patterns. Over time, your brain connects certain situations with automatic emotional responses. Stress triggers anxiety. Criticism triggers defensiveness. Pressure triggers avoidance. These patterns repeat until they feel natural. Emotional mastery requires breaking these automatic reactions and replacing them with intentional responses. Your brain learns through repetition. The brain strengthens whatever you repeat. If you constantly react with fear, worry, or anger, your brain learns that those reactions are normal. The same is true for calm, focus, and control. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you weaken the old pattern. Repetition builds emotional discipline just like repetition builds physical strength. Awareness interrupts automatic reactions. You cannot change an emotional habit you do not notice. Awareness is the interruption. The moment you notice a reaction forming, you create space. That space gives you choice. Without awareness, emotions control behavior. With awareness, behavior becomes intentional. This is where emotional control begins. Practice the pause. Between stimulus and response, there is a pause. That pause is power. When an emotion rises, do not react immediately. Pause, breathe, observe. This breaks the emotional loop. Even a few seconds of pause reduces intensity and prevents impulsive behavior. The pause turns reactions into decisions. Breathing regulates emotions. Your breath directly affects your nervous system. Shallow, fast breathing increases anxiety. Slow, controlled breathing signals safety to the brain. When emotions rise, control your breathing first. Calm breathing calms the body. A calm body sends signals of stability to the mind. This is one of the fastest ways to regain control. Emotional discipline requires consistent practice. You will not master emotional control in one day. You will slip. You will react. That is part of learning. The goal is not perfection. The goal is improvement. Each time you notice an emotion and respond better than before, you strengthen discipline. Progress comes from consistency, not intensity. Change the story you tell yourself. Emotions follow meaning. The meaning you give to events shapes how you feel. When you label situations as threats, emotions intensify. When you label them as challenges, emotions stabilize. Change the internal story and the emotional response changes with it. Interpretation controls emotion.
Stop mental escapism. Many people avoid emotions through distraction, endless scrolling, overeating, overworking, constant noise. These habits numb emotions temporarily but weaken emotional strength long term. Avoidance teaches the brain that emotions are dangerous. Facing emotions calmly teaches the brain that emotions are manageable. Build emotional strength through exposure. Emotional strength grows when you face discomfort without escaping. Sit with difficult emotions instead of running from them. Observe them, let them rise and fall. This exposure trains the nervous system to stay calm under pressure. What you face loses power. What you avoid controls you. Create stability through routines. Unstable routines create emotional instability. When sleep, nutrition, and daily structure are inconsistent, emotions become harder to manage. Emotional control is not only mental, it is physical and behavioral. Simple routines create internal stability. Stability reduces emotional reactivity. Self-talk shapes emotional control. The way you speak to yourself matters. Harsh self-criticism increases emotional stress. Calm, rational self-talk stabilizes emotions. Speak to yourself like a disciplined coach, not a judge. Guidance builds strength, judgment weakens it. Emotional control builds confidence. When you trust yourself to handle emotions, confidence grows naturally. You stop fearing emotional situations because you know you can handle them. Emotional control creates inner safety. Inner safety creates calm confidence. Practice daily, not occasionally. Emotional mastery is built through daily practice, awareness, pause, breath, response, repetition. The more you practice, the more automatic control becomes. Over time, emotional reactions soften and clarity strengthens.
Part 4. Build emotional balance, resilience, and inner stability. Emotional mastery is a long-term skill. Emotional mastery is not about eliminating emotions. It is about building balance. Life will always bring challenges, uncertainty, and pressure. The goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to remain steady when emotions rise. Long-term emotional control comes from repetition, patience, and self-awareness practiced over time. Emotional resilience comes from acceptance. Resilient people do not deny reality, they accept it. Acceptance does not mean liking what happens. It means recognizing what is real instead of fighting it mentally. Resistance creates emotional tension. Acceptance releases it. When you accept reality as it is, your emotional energy is freed to respond instead of react. Stop making emotions personal. Many people suffer because they take emotions personally. They believe emotions say something about their worth or identity. They do not. Emotions are experiences, not judgments. Feeling anxious does not mean you are weak. Feeling sad does not mean you are broken. When you stop personalizing emotions, they lose their power over you. Build a stable inner base. External stability is never guaranteed. People change, situations change, life changes. Emotional strength comes from internal stability. This stability is built through self-trust, emotional awareness, and consistent self-care. When your inner base is strong, external chaos affects you less. Emotional control improves relationships. When you control your emotions, communication improves. You listen better. You react less. You respond with clarity instead of impulse. Emotional regulation reduces conflict and builds respect. Strong relationships are built by emotionally aware individuals, not emotionally reactive ones. Let go of what you cannot control. A major source of emotional suffering is trying to control what is not yours to control. Other people's behavior, the past,
outcomes. When you let go of control over these things, emotional tension decreases. Focus on what is always within your control, your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. Emotional balance requires physical care. The mind and body are connected. Lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and constant stimulation weaken emotional regulation. Taking care of your body strengthens emotional control. Simple habits like proper rest, movement, and quiet time improve emotional stability more than most people realize. Detach from mental noise. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every emotion deserves a reaction. Emotional maturity means choosing where to place your attention. When you stop engaging with unnecessary mental noise, emotional calm increases. Detachment creates clarity. Practice emotional neutrality. Emotional neutrality does not mean coldness, it means balance. You experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You stay grounded during success and steady during difficulty. Neutrality allows you to act wisely instead of emotionally. Trust your ability to handle life. Confidence grows when you trust yourself to handle emotions. You stop fearing difficult situations because you know you can stay calm and clear. Emotional self-trust is one of the strongest forms of confidence. It allows you to move through life without constant inner conflict. Emotional mastery is daily practice. You do not master emotions once and finish. You practice daily. Awareness, acceptance, regulation, response. This daily practice slowly reshapes your emotional patterns. Over time, reactions weaken and resilience strengthens. You become unbreakable by practice. Emotional strength is built the same way physical strength is built, through repetition under pressure. Each time you stay calm instead of reacting, you grow stronger. Each time you choose clarity over chaos, you build resilience. This is how emotional freedom is earned. If you stayed until the end, subscribe to the channel and stay connected. This series was created to help you regain control over your emotions, your reactions, and your inner world. Emotional mastery changes how you experience life. When you control your emotions, you control your decisions. When you control your decisions, you control your future.